a monthly webinar that is dedicated to enlightening the public on the application of data science and artificial intelligence. Today, hello, Dr. Olusola. Hello, Dr. Olusola.
Good morning, sir. It's my pleasure to be here.
Doctor
Olusola Ayoola here.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just to confirm that you are audible, sir. So, yes. Dr. Olusola Ayoola will be our guest lecturer for today. We will be treating the today we'll be treating harnessing data science and artificial intelligence potentials to address security challenges in Nigeria. Our guest speaker today, Dr. Olusola Ayoola, is a graduate of electrical electronics, and also he holds a master's degree in advanced control and system engineering. Then he proceeded to the University of Manchester to bag his PhD degree in electrical and electronics engineering. He is the founder of Robotics and Artificial Intelligence Nigeria. Please permit me to welcome Dr. Olusola Ayoola. You are welcome, Doctor.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here, like I said earlier. And welcome to everybody else who is also on the program today. Permission to proceed?
Yes.
May I proceed? Okay. You can start the program. So I'm just going to share my screen and then we can enjoy the rest of this. Okay, so let's just have a problem to solve first. Take your mind off the topic. Let's address the elephant in the room, which is in front of you right now on your screen. A person has a test for cancer that comes back as positive. What is the chance that this person actually has cancer? Or a person goes for a test for malaria and it comes out as positive. What is the chance that the person truly has malaria? You go for a DNA test that comes out positive. What is the probability that truly the test result is positive? Now, still on the cancer question, A, less than 10%, B, between 10 and 70, C, 70 to 80%, D, more than 80, that means you really trust it, E, 100%, which of course everybody will agree, nothing can really be 100% accurate. And that's the question in front of us. You might want to have your answer at the back of your mind, but let us just move to the next slide, which is a bit more involving now. So you've got KitKat in front of you. Please make yourselves comfortable. You can talk to your neighbor as well. If you don't have neighbors, then just look at the question. 1% of the population get cancer, given. That's a fact. Maybe not in Nigeria, okay? 1% of the population get cancer. 80% of the people with cancer usually get a positive test result. That means 20% of the people with cancer would not get a positive test result, so they would never know they have cancer. 9.6% of those who do not have cancer would also get a positive test result. That means that even though they don't have cancer, they will think that they have, but it's just 9.6%, right? So maybe nothing to worry about. So I ask you again, If a person comes back from the hospital, from the lab, with a test result that says positive, what is the chance that that person truly has cancer? And at this point, you might be tempted to think, well, it's now going to need some more statistical analysis because we are getting some facts we can use to populate our result. And the answer is this. Let's say 10,000 patients go to the hospital or are tested, because everybody likes to do medical tests, even though they don't know where they have a problem or not. We're advised to always do medical checkup. Out of these 10,000 people, 1% would have cancer statistically, and that's 100 of them. The remaining 9,900 would not have cancer, which is okay because statistically, only 1% of the population would have cancer. Out of the population that has cancer, 80% usually get their test results as positive, which is a good thing for them to know, early prevention, early treatment, and so on and so forth. The remaining 20%, that's 20 out of 100 people that have cancer, would get a negative result. And they will go home thinking, I can continue with my lifestyle, nothing is going to change. How sad. But that's not as sad as the next case. 9,900 people do not have cancer, but yet 9.6% of them will still come out with a positive result. And that's 950 people. Too much, you would say, because compared to those who have cancer and get positive results, those who don't have cancer but get positive results are more than those who have cancer and get positive results. Of course, the rest don't have cancer and they don't get any positive result, which is good. So what's the probability that somebody who has cancer, what's the probability that somebody has cancer given that the person came out with a positive result? It is going to be 80 out of 80 plus 950, which is 7.76%. That means that statistically, please, based on the data we have about the test results and how they fared in the population, the chance that somebody has cancer, given that the person's test results from the lab is positive, is 7.76%. Not 100%, not 80%. And therefore, some people are in trouble. Those who don't have cancer but still get positive results are in trouble. Those who have cancer and don't come up with a positive result are in trouble because they wouldn't prevent any other damage. And this is where they say, what you don't know may not kill you, okay? But in this case, we are seeing a case where those who have cancer but don't come up with a positive result may still die of cancer, but those who don't have cancer and come up with a positive result may still die of fear that they had cancer. So it's important to always get your facts right so that we don't make mistakes. And this just shows that the probability that a person with positive test result has cancer is not the same as the probability that a person with cancer has a positive result. It's important to check other information like the background chances prior to having the cancer, the chances of receiving a false alarm in the test, and so on and so forth. And it is by looking at historical data that artificial intelligence becomes more and more reliable compared to our natural human intelligence, because AI looks at facts before making a decision, something most human beings do not. But today, we're not looking at the medical benefits of AI and how it's revolutionizing the health sector. We are looking at national security. And my name is Olusola Ayoola. We need to learn that there is a relationship between data science and artificial intelligence, and dealing with the security challenges, not only in Nigeria, but globally. We are going to begin to export this technology very soon to countries that need to solve their own global security problems. We may not be able to have the industry to build weapons, but if we can solve scientifically, through AI, some security threats, we too can become a powerhouse in security solutions. And that's why this topic is important today. I know when I mention security challenges, you would think about the Boko Haram, the kidnappings, the banditry, and so on and so forth. But let's even bring this very close to home, where we have CCTV cameras at home, in the offices, all because we are trying to be sure that our lives and properties are safe. Here is a news headline some weeks ago about a supermarket in Abuja, where it was said that the CCTV exposes girl setting fire to Ebiano supermarket in Abuja. The supermarket was raised down because of a 9-year-old shopper who set fire underneath the gas cylinders that were on sale. But the shop has CCTV camera now, and I'm hoping that they had security men watching the camera. So why didn't they capture this event before it happened? Why didn't they detect the event? Look at it. That was the girl when she was setting the books under the gas on fire. And that was when it all lit up. She ran away before, when she noticed that there was fire, she ran away and stood outside the shop watching it burn down. That means the failure cannot be denied of the CCTV system that requires human beings to sit and watch. Because human beings can only watch one television squarely when you have CCTV cameras showing 20 sections or 32 sections of a shopping mall. How vigilant can the few security men be, setting aside human factor of wanting to sleep, wanting to take a break, wanting to go and urinate and so on, even if they were focused on all of the 32 screens, how much can they detect in that period? And this is the effect we are seeing. So that means that AI may be a way to solve the security problems within our homes, within our offices. The same challenge you are seeing here is exactly a similitude of what's going on nationally, where you have security men at the border, and yet illegal smugglers are still passing through because there is a limit to human efficiency. So let us bring to home what artificial intelligence is before I start breaking down to you the role of AI in solving national security problems. AI is the ability of a computer-based machine to do 5 things: to collect data, to process the data using heuristic algorithms, to understand aspects of its environment, and to make informed decisions without human interference. Let me break it down because we are going to delve into the factors, the components that make up AI. Collection of data is paramount. If I have to feed my computer algorithm with the data it needs to learn, then it's not AI because there is a limit to how much data I can feed it. It must be able to collect data by itself continuously. And there are many ways we go about data collection. I will explain later. But it is not something you do manually. It has to be an automated process. Secondly, it must process the data using what we call heuristic algorithms, learning algorithms, algorithms that can update themselves, can learn and adjust its process. It shouldn't be the same algorithm all the time. It has to learn and adapt. So let's say I develop an AI system that can detect when someone is breaking into a house. And then somehow, someone broke into a house and the AI system did not detect that. Once it is corrected, it knows that, okay, that event it overlooked as if it were not a threat should now be seen as a threat going forward. And most times we train AI systems like that because of the heuristic algorithms they have I don't need to sit down and reprogram it. It learns. When it does all of this, it does it so that it can understand aspects of its environment, not the full environment, but aspects. Aspects because typically you want your AI system to know everything you know, do everything you can do, like a human brain. But most times we tailor AI systems to specific objectives because the capacity to deliver on too much has not yet been reached. We still do not have what we call super general artificial intelligence. We are still dealing with weak AI, which has to do with an AI system that can detect the price of things in the market in the next few days, an AI system that can detect human face, an AI system that is dedicated to only detecting what users on the website love to see, different areas of specialty. Bringing them all together still requires a lot of research because of the energy requirement, processing capacity, and so on and so forth. But when your AI system understands at least an aspect of the environment, it's then able to make informed decision on behalf of the human being. And it is very vital. I was speaking to someone, I said, a human being with 50 years experience and an AI system with 50 years worth of training data set, which it can use to upgrade its capacity, which would you think is more reliable? You may be tempted to think that a human being of so many years of experience will be far better because he can now make sound judgments, but forgetting the fact that with age comes depreciation in our capacity. Whereas a computer system that has 50 years of data experience will be able to still maintain the same amount of accuracy, if not better than before. And that's why we need to train more AI systems going forward, because we cannot continue to rely on the human brain as time goes on. So AI started in 1956 and has become popular today because of three things. One, increased availability of large, diverse, and real-life data, which
Hello. Hello. Hello.
and by using this in your AI system, it's able to learn a lot without you feeding that data deliberately to it. Now, with so much data around, nobody needs a questionnaire to fill before giving all your life history to someone else. Secondly, improvement in computing power. Before now, you would hardly find a computer system with up to 4 gig RAM. Now you will see small mobile phones with 8 gig RAM. You will see a small tablet with so much capacity, processing capacity. And that tells you that now we can process so much imagery on time. Because of that, we now have the boldness to talk about image processing, moving image processing, because we know that what should have taken several days can now be done quickly. Advancement in learning algorithms due to improved knowledge sharing is now rampant. So now if you feel like you want to learn anything in AI or data science, it's very easy to find Stack Overflow, GitHub, Reddit, Quora, and so many other websites that help to share knowledge. And that way you will find out that you're not starting from the scratch in any field of interest, because someone has already done a video on YouTube, somebody has broken down the code, uploaded their code for you to use, and you can build on that rather than starting from the beginning. And that's why we are getting somewhere very quickly nowadays. And it's not the whole world alone that is moving. Nigeria is not left out. And before that, let me talk about UAE, United Arab Emirates, that has embraced AI to the federal level. They now have a university for AI in UAE, which is currently doing a lot of research in this area. The government of UAE even has a ministry of AI and a whole government plan for AI. And this is because AI is predicted to introduce $16 trillion to the global economy by 2030. In Nigeria as well, we're doing great. We have National Agency for Research in Robotics and AI, which was proposed and approved in 2018, although nothing has been done yet to establish it. But in 2020, last year, the government set up the National Center for AI and Robotics in Abuja as WUYE, which now houses some ultra-modern facilities for research. So the country is growing. Now you can see we have the Institute for Data Science and AI, which shows that we are now putting together our house to forge ahead. So while all this is going on, a lot of pool of skills are required: computer programming, statistics and mathematics, science and engineering, arts and psychology, and all other fields like medicine and economics that AI can be applied. And we are seeing AI being increasingly applied now for healthcare, for retail manufacturing, banking, and national security, and so on. So to become an AI expert, these are all of the branches you could specialize in: machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, machine vision, expert systems, and so on and so forth. But the formation can be simplified as this. So let's just say that we have artificial intelligence. And inside that, we have data science. Data science houses a whole lot. Then you have machine learning as one of the things in that, big data as one of the things in that, and then you have deep learning. I will break all of this down later on. Now you also have the expert knowledge and the programming language that you need to bring all of this to automated life. Let's look at data science for a minute. When we talk about data science, it starts by understanding the problem we want to solve. And that's why it's a science, because you must identify the problem and determine what data is required to solving that problem. So if you consider the problem of insecurity in Nigeria, bandits attacking people in some communities, and then you want to solve that problem in a method of using AI, what data would you need to collect? How will you collect the data? That is what data collection worries about. And only a few people are experts in that, because in the past, we collect data from maybe questionnaires. Take, for example, you go into a village that has just been massacred, and you ask the survivors, what did you see? How many people were they? From where did they come? How long did they stay before they attacked? Who and who did they attack? How many men were killed? How many females were killed? How many children were killed? What medical facilities were available? And so on, questionnaires. Now you don't need that, because there are implicit ways of collecting data. So you would need to focus on that as well if your AI system is going to be self-learning. Now, we go ahead to clean up the data. And cleaning up the data is because data comes from different sources in different formats, and we need to make them all useful when going into our data analysis algorithm. So that is a given. It's important we clean it up using some of the algorithms we have. All of these are still under data science. Now, you go further to analyze the data. The data in your stream of data collected, there could be some patterns you would observe. Now, in statistics helps us to analyze the relationship between data sets through correlation and regression analysis. So take, for example, I collect data about the number of visitors entering into a particular town every day. If there's a truck always bringing people from a farming area to a town, and normally it is 5 people that they bring, 5 people that they bring tomorrow, 5 people next tomorrow, 7 next tomorrow, 8 next tomorrow, and then one day they bring 15 people, and then 2 days later, there was a massacre. I'll continue collecting this data to see if there is a pattern between the number of visitors that enter into a town and what event will happen within 2 days or 3 days. And if the data analysis, because data will be for long, is not something one person can sit down and analyze. You're analyzing more than one feature for your information. So it has to be a continuous analysis on your computer. If the algorithm we have written now detects a spike and a relationship in the correlation, and a correlation between number of people coming in and when there will be an event of an attack, it's clear to now say, we have analyzed our data, we now know that there is a relationship. Data modeling and data validation helps us to then bring this to life by saying, okay, what if this were the case? What would we have there? If this happens, what would that be? So trying to now create a kind of environment that we can simulate what the events may be, just from data. Of course, all of this comes with validation to see if we are actually predicting accurately or not. And then we deploy and optimize our facts. Now, what you will come to see is that with data science, it's possible to actually understand the security threats we even have in our society. Even if we don't go as far as deploying machine learning models to understand what are the causative elements, but at least we know that there is a pattern. When this happens, that's likely to happen. That way is a way of intelligence gathering. Now I'll go further to talk about big data. Big data is something we can no longer run away from. I know there was a time people were forwarding messages that, hey, I'm leaving WhatsApp, or I'm going to another one. I can't remember what they called that other one, because people said WhatsApp was stealing their data, taking their information, even though the people that own WhatsApp said they are only sharing it with Facebook and other sister companies so that they can provide to you the right adverts you need for the things you really want. Take, for example, you really need a shoe. You've been talking about shoe all this while, but you've never taken time to figure out where they sell shoes around you. And then one day you see a pop-up advert that says, buy shoe near you, blah, blah, blah. It makes you think, oh, finally I can buy this. So they think that's a good thing. It's called recommender systems in AI, in machine learning. But how do they get all this information from us without us deliberately telling them? It's through big data. Big data requires, well, it's involved in extremely large data sets that may be analyzed computationally to reveal the patterns, the trends, and the associations, especially when it relates to human behavior and interaction. So it's called big data because most times it's a bunch of unrelated events, or let me say seemingly unrelated events. Let's say, for example, all of my WhatsApp chats from the beginning to the end, I forward it to a computer database. And on that WhatsApp chat, I talk about my education, I talk about my finances, I talk about my worries, I talk about my religion, I talk about what I like to buy, and so on and so forth, without actually classifying what I'm talking about. A computer algorithm under big data will be able to classify every sentence in that big set of data based on what it thinks I'm talking about and extract what is a useful information from that. Oh, on Friday, he said he needed to borrow 1,000 naira. That means he was broke on Friday, taken. On Saturday, he was asking where can he go and hang out. That means he was no longer broke on Saturday. Okay, so a pattern is being observed just from analyzing the big data. It's called big data not just because of the volume of data, but because of the velocity at which this data keeps coming up on the system. Because every day you chat with so many people, and there's a new chat every day, and a system somewhere has to be making sense of all of this. And it's also of various data types. So it needs a special field called big data. So if one specialty is big data, it aids in data collection, because now you can make sense of what people might think is garbage. Then we talk about machine learning. Now, the case of machine learning is a bit interesting because it deals with so many other things. Let me just move this away. Okay, so it deals with supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. And what this just means is that, fine, I have a data set I want to train, but in order to train the data set, I need to run some kind of modeling. So in this case, I'm going to assume that my output Y is related to my input X through a linear formula, where, don't forget, X might be multiple factors and W can be a matrix of coefficients, as well as B. Now, we don't know what W is, we don't know what B is, okay? So we run all of our training data sets to come up with the best assumption for W and B. That's what we call supervised learning. We use an existing data set to train our supposed model so we can observe the best fit. Now, this doesn't have to be a continuous data set. It could be a logic data set, you know, whether true or false, just by using classification algorithms. Now, we also have the unsupervised learning, which in that case, there's no particular subject of interest. We're not trying to predict one thing by looking at 4 other factors. Rather, we're trying to even see if amongst all the 5 factors, there is any semblance of relationship. So that if I know any 4, I can predict the 5th. If I know any 3, I can probably predict the other 2. So looking at if there's a relationship amongst data sets. Now, reinforcement learning helps your program to be what it's doing. Now, we also have recommender systems. We have time series forecasting, which we know that time series forecasting is the kind of solution we use in predicting the market, but it's also used in predicting events. And I mentioned about crime before now, that when 10 people enter a town and an attack happens, we know that there was an indicator. We can use time series forecasting for predicting the likelihood of an attack eventually. Deep learning is also very important. We use that for computer vision and for natural language processing. So finally, I want to say that why study AI? We study AI because new jobs are opening up in this area. You can't run away now. Companies now need to apply AI for many of the things they thought were far-fetched. And they need experts that can manipulate data, experts that can analyze data, that can predict, you know, develop models that can predict events and so on. There are also more opportunities in this AI thing for remote work, okay? You can now be in Nigeria and solve an AI-related problem for a company in Germany without having to leave the shores. These are the skills that are now in demand, and there are few experts available, especially when it comes to the development of expert systems, you know. And finally, there is need for more creative thinkers, and this is something you develop when you are building AI systems, because it helps you to think out of the box on behalf of the model you're about to create. Now, having introduced what AI is, let's quickly wrap up today's discussion with the importance of AI for national security, and I'll be as quick as I can. We know that farmers are in trouble today. They can hardly go to their farms. We've received several complaints over time of farmers that have been killed by marauders just because they were trying to defend their farms. Now, farmers have begged, can there be a sort of CCTV camera at the top that applies computer vision so that it can detect when marauders are coming so that they can run away from the farm? And the answer is yes. You can mount a camera on a drone, and the drone can fly around consistently scanning for humans that are moving. And when it notices that, it can send them a message and they can move out of the way. It's not safe to stay there and get attacked. Leave the place while the thieves or while the marauders, the bandits, are still 1 kilometer away. So that is one benefit of AI, and it comes under the topic of intelligent video management systems, the same one I talked about when I referred you to the supermarket that the young girl set on fire. Our soldiers in the war front also need intelligent video management systems for understanding the movement of bandits in areas that are not accessible due to improvised explosive devices. They still need to gather this intelligence. They still need to be able to do so. And mind you, it's not enough, like I said before, to have somebody watching over a video. There are many things that can go unnoticed to the discerning human eye, but not to a well-trained AI computer vision system. That is what we call object detection. I'll come to that later. Also for the police have a challenge monitoring our railway systems, monitoring our roads, our highways, monitoring our pipelines in the oil and gas industry. And when they have to do this with the limited human power, human resources, there needs to be a way of monitoring, either by using a drone with a camera to survey the railways to know when vandalization is taking place, or to survey the pipelines, or to survey the highways and quickly give an alert so they can send backup. That is the area of intelligent video management system, which requires computer vision knowledge. Secondly, we need neural networks for pattern recognition. And this is a big solution when it comes to crime investigation and crime detection. Was there a pattern? Is there a consistent pattern? So let's say there has been a case of a serial killing going on somewhere. Dead body found on the highway today, dead body found on the river tomorrow, dead body found in a bush somewhere on Friday, blah, blah, blah. Was there a pattern? Was a particular vehicle always noticed around the scene of the crime? Is there a plate number that keeps coming up whenever there's a crime in an area? This is where neural networks come in. Of course, intelligent warfare equipment. You don't want to just send soldiers to an environment without intelligence. You need intelligent warfare equipment that can be used to survey the ground for explosive devices, to survey vehicles for weapon detection, and so on and so forth. Night vision for our soldiers so they can see, and so on. So AI has a role to play, especially in geospatial intelligence gathering, where there is so much going on within a territory like Nigeria, in Benue, in Jos, in Nasarawa, in Niger, in Kogi, in the South and the Southwest, that it's difficult to say you are going to send soldiers everywhere. There needs to be that gathering of intelligence. In one way, you can use carbon emission devices to collect that geospatial intelligence report so you can know where there's likelihood to be a spike and you can approach the place, or to know where the bandits are hiding and you can visit the place. Geospatial intelligence is very important if you are going to manage minimal, let me say, warfare resources to tackle the challenges. Finally, fake news. We all know that most times insecurity is due to people receiving fake news about what they think has happened. It's important to be able to stop fake news, investigate the sources of the fake news, and so on. And this is one area where AI comes in strongly. Fake news detection, being able to tell whether something is true or not before people take up arms. We've seen where there's a report that something happened in the north or in the south or in Canada or in Finland, and some people set people on fire somewhere else in Nigeria, thinking that they are trying to defend their own. Whereas it may be fake news, it may not have been true. Verification of news would help with information retrieval and also verification. So I'm going to break down very quickly in 5 minutes before I wrap it up what I've mentioned earlier. When it comes to intelligent video management systems, there's a solution called Axxon Next. It's a state-of-the-art open platform intelligent video management system. It's just like your regular CCTV DVR software, but more intelligent in managing your video, so that even if you cannot sit down in front of your video, you can set thresholds for when it should raise an alarm. And it's capable of so many things. This Axxon Next software, you can install it, and it enables the user to accomplish a wide spectrum of tasks. You can connect your digital equipment, your video and your analog video cameras through all of the necessary input system to this, and it's able to do a number of things. I will break it down here. First of all, this is the view. Looks like a normal DVR for your CCTV. Let's assume that the supermarket has this. Let's assume that the state government has cameras all over the state and it's running on this platform. Let's assume the borderlines of the country has some of these cameras. They could be IP cameras and are all running on this platform. What does this platform do? First of all, like I said, it's user-friendly in the outlook, but secondly, it's able to detect motion. It's able to detect background change, change in the background. So let's say for some time now, it has just been people strolling on that street, and all of a sudden it's seeing people running on that street, people running, and an event that hasn't happened before, an unusual change of event, it can then be made to trigger an alarm. When there's a detection of loss of video quality, again, it triggers an alarm. And of course, when there is an abandoned object in the area, let's say it's monitoring my street, and for no reason, a car that was never parked on that street before is now parked on the street for no just cause, it raises an alarm. Whoever is in charge can know at hand and quickly take action. So that's the way it solves some of these problems. It uses the idea of computer vision, which ranges from deep learning to neural networks and AI, to solve some of these solutions you've seen. I've explained what computer vision is, and then neural networks. Let's look at what it also does. So there's this thing we call neuro tracker. In this case, you can count how many people are entering. I mentioned before the need to probably detect there's a relationship between number of immigrants and when crime occurs. So if there is a method of mounting this at the city entrance, you can capture the cars that are entering, that's traffic. You can also capture the number of people that are walking on the street into the place. You can also just count the number of people entering a marketplace on a regular day to see if there has been a spike in the number over time. And that can be used to collect the data you would need to trace if there is a pattern in when crime would increase or not. It's also useful for interactive mapping. So like in this case, it concatenates a number of different video feeds to create a 3D video of the environment, which is a sort of virtual reality environment that shows you what's going on, and you can easily look. So it makes it easier for let me say a surveillance operator, rather than watching different video feeds, he actually finds himself within a 3D video environment, seeing what's going on as if he were right on the market floor. Also, there's this thing we call posture detection. It helps to know when human activities change from standing to sitting to lying down to falling down to bending. And that way we would know when someone is doing something at a particular location he shouldn't be doing. Let's say, for example, in a banking hall, everybody should be standing, but somebody is bending, maybe he's trying to unscrew something, you can raise an alarm. So this system is able to detect any of these changes and report to the operators. It can report by recording the video. It can send an SMS. It can send an email. It can play an audio announcement. It can also send a signal to an accusing device that may trigger something to happen. So it's very interactive, and it's all with the help of AI that Axxon Next is deploying. There's also time compressor. Imagine sitting down to detect what has happened over time. No, you wouldn't need to spend time, because this would simply compress all the events that has happened over 3 minutes or 30 minutes into one short minute of video. So if this car, for example, left that place and moved to the left, and then later moved to the right, we have captured everything in one simple short picture. So we can easily see what this car did in this video frame within 1 hour. So it's not enough to just forward and forward. You can just watch it at a glance and quickly know if this person ever got to a particular spot or not. And that's very helpful when you are trying to detect and quickly react. There is this license plate search, which of course many people have done in their home, in their research. Many final year projects have been about detecting plate numbers and so on and so forth. But then it's very important, it's important to know that it already exists on this system as well. And you can also use that for there's also the face search detection. So in this case, it can detect the face of the person it has seen. And if that person's face is wanted, it can search for whenever it sees that face. All of this in one system enhances home security, national security, and interstate security. So that's something that is currently being applied in China. Particularly, they have this pedestrian tracker, so it's able to check everybody on the road that is walking. In Nigeria, here in Ibadan, there was a time we introduced a traffic light system that is able to control traffic as if, you know, it's a stand where the traffic warden will stand. But also the plan is to put cameras on it that can detect plate number of cars, colors of cars, and the brand of the car, so that every car passing that junction is logged, is recorded. So that tomorrow, if a car is stolen, we can check, was there a blue car with plate number, blah, 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 color, Toyota car seen at this junction, heading from where to where, okay? So moving forward, again, we have the immersion mode, which allows for a kind of semi-transparent video that's overlaid on the map. So we know what has happened, as if we are like looking at the map and knowing where events have happened. And auto zoom and so many other things. Now, I need to say that this kind of solution is currently being applied in Nigeria for crime detection. But then the challenge is that it's not, let me say, it's not everywhere. Some cities have CCTV cameras. Lagos State has CCTV cameras, or your state in Ibadan has CCTV cameras that are being deployed. It came to tracking the hideout of a particular popular kidnapper. This method of analysis was deployed with the help of some people. One of them is currently on the video today, on the meeting group today, Olusola Ayoola. He was instrumental in using this solution to help detect some of the activities, the movement patterns of the criminal that they were trying to apprehend. So this is in use. It's something that we can continue to enhance in Africa, so that at some point we'll be able to sit down and allow the AI systems to manage our national security challenges. And thank you very much for listening. We will take questions now and further contributions from those in the house. Thank you.
A big thank you to Dr. Ayoola. We really appreciate the wonderful lecture he just delivered. It's like Nigeria also, we are not being left out when it comes to catching up with the technological advancement. Please, before we go further to the question and answer, I want to introduce the Institute briefly to our participants. Institute of Data Science and Artificial Intelligence, Nigeria, is a professional body that is research-oriented. Our goal is to create multidisciplinary platform for the deployment of data, product, artificial intelligence systems. As we all know that domain is very important when you are deploying AI. When you are trying to solve a problem, you need to really understand this problem. The likes of the experts that have gained enough knowledge when it comes to developing algorithms, building software, deploying software solutions, building embedded systems, they will not be able to handle any problem meaningfully if they don't have the contribution of the experts where that problem is domiciled. So we launch chat with experts with the view of trying to educate the public to understand the concept of artificial intelligence, data science, and how it can help us solve some challenges. So we are inviting professionals to feel free to contact us in any sector they belong to, in any discipline they belong to. Let us know what problem you are having so that we can put heads together and see how we can jointly solve it. Because if you did not let us know your problem, we will not know what kind of data can we gather. How should the problem be solved? So this is what the Institute is all about. We are here, we are trying to dedicate ourselves towards the advancement of artificial intelligence and data science in Nigeria and beyond. We are here to bridge the gap between the academia and the industry so that our universities, polytechnics, and other institutions, they can be very relevant in solving real-life problems that are bothering our nation. And also, we are trying to see how we can mentor the young graduates, right from undergraduate, how they can develop the required skills that they will use to further their career in applying artificial intelligence and data science to solve pressing challenges in sectors across our country. Thank you very much, and feel free to contact us. Feel free to contact us on the links I just posted on our chat.
How are you?
Box. Hello?
What do you need?
Hello?
25,000 naira. Go and fetch it.
Engineer Adejuma, please kindly mute your audio, please. Okay, please mute your audio. So you can check the post I just shared now to everyone at the chat box. You can see our LinkedIn page. Please follow our page and you like. Also, our email address is there, interact@idsainigeria.org. And also our website is idsainigeria.org. And the numbers you can reach when you need our attention or you need further clarification. Once more, we say a big thank you to Dr. Olusola Ayoola. We open the floor for the question now. So please, if you have a question to ask, just raise your hand up and we can ask you to unmute yourself so that the conversation can be more organized. So I have Engineer Sikiru Ogunowo here raising up the hand. So please, it can be question, it can be contribution. Nobody is Mr. Know-it-all. Please feel free to contribute. Feel free to seek clarification. We are all here to learn. Thank you very much. Mr. Sikiru, Engineer Sikiru Ogunowo, please, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let me start by acknowledging the expertise of the resource person, and he has done wonderfully well in the presentation. To someone like me who is a learner, a starter in AI, I found his lecture really intriguing. My question goes thus: for the intelligent video management system, how do you think the element of cost of deploying such AI tool could really impart on effective security management. Considering, for instance, I'm not talking about a governmental big establishment, purpose, especially for individuals and small-scale businesses that may want to deploy that technology. How do you think cost of deploying, deploying that facility can impact on us achieving that safety, protection that we would have, deployed it for? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I agree that cost is always a concern. But in a case where a solution already exists, the problem is usually not the software. The problem is usually the capacity of your computer to process that.
Hello?
Your system. You can process that data over the cloud on another system or a server system far away from you that has a higher processing capacity. And there are many websites that offer cloud computing services, including Amazon Web Services. But the problem is that even if you are going to use a cloud computing solution far away from you, you must send your data to it. So you must send all your videos to it. And then that comes with the problem of how much is data, how fast is our data, our broadband. Now, the world is therefore realizing that if AI must be fully enhanced, we need to move from 4G to 5G to 6G. We need to increase the broadband at a cheaper rate. And that's why Nigeria too is beginning to say, okay, we are going to allow 5G. But even the 4G, how far has it gone? But we are still trying to grow by applying 5G so that very soon it will be faster to transmit videos and all of these things for the purpose of cloud computing. That's one. Secondly, I encourage people to come together. So let's say we're talking of this solution now. What's the point having a very intelligent CCTV camera with this intelligent video management system in your house? What is the point? When the thief gets to your gates, even when you scream, nobody else can hear. I prefer when communities come together to buy this same solution and place the cameras at the entry points to the community and then they can have a community gate so that when the thieves break through that gate, everybody will come out in arms and say, oh yeah, before you get to my house, we'll meet you at the gate. Secondly, it's cheaper to come together and raise some amount of money. So farmers have said they need drones that can have cameras. But how much can one single farmer do, pay or spend? But when they come together as an association, banks can give them the loans. Government can then say, oh, you are together, okay, this is my support for you guys. And then they can deliver some of these solutions. But without government, these are the two solutions I think can come up. The first one is going to be gradual as 5G is deployed. The second one would need people to come together and have a unified solution.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ayoola. Mr. Abdulkabir Uthman, please, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can. We can. Go on with your question.
Appreciation goes to the organizer of this program and the instructor. I think they've really done a very good job on this and a very good lecture for this. Though I've missed the first two sessions due to some circumstances, but I really appreciate the lecturer on this. Now, my questions about this is that you are talking of AI. instead of human being in like CCTV camera. Assuming someone is in an organization now, everyone has closed, and one of the security guy picked a, what is it called, a battery of a laptop, of a car, and took it out from the organization. How can AI detect that and stop that process? That's my question. I hope you got me right.
Okay, the battery of what? Sorry.
Of a car. It's been stolen by a security guy.
Okay.
From the CCTV camera, we can capture that. But how can the AI detect and stop that process stop the cameraman from the security guy from taking out the battery, assuming human being is not there watching at that moment? Thank you.
All right. You know, and this is a general problem with any AI system. It's one thing to say we are detecting that a crime is occurring. It's another thing to apprehend.
Yeah.
Even when you have your drone in the sky that detects that these are criminals at this point, you don't just fire immediately. You need a human being to give approval that, okay, you can fire, these are truly criminals. Because if you go and fire the wrong people, your AI system can be 98% accurate, but the remaining 2% can be deadly if you try to attack. So in this case, your video management system is able to detect that an unusual activity is happening. What's the unusual activity? I don't expect the bonnet of that car to be opened. I don't expect that car to move between this hour and that hour. I don't expect anybody to enter, whether security man or not. Now, if the security man opens the bonnet, he himself, as security man, may get an alert, a notification to show that something strange has just happened. He may ignore the notification, so that's a problem, I agree. But also, when he has taken it, there is nothing stopping the gate from opening, because normally the gate would have opened if the security man wanted to survey the outside, except that we can implement another system that says anybody going out can only go out with certain objects. So if you have another camera at the gate that detects what object the person leaving the environment is going out with, you can then say, because this object has not been permitted to leave this facility, it cannot leave, using AI. But most times, we all agree, let's be honest, that security officers are usually given a lot of leeway, a lot of permission, because their jobs can require emergency. If because he's carrying an object, you don't open the gate, tomorrow when he's carrying an object that is meant to save somebody's life outside, the gate again will not open. So the most important thing is that we are capturing the face of the security man. Before we employed him, we already knew his biodata, we know where he lives, then we can trace him from there. But the most important thing again is that an alert would have been, a notification would have been sent that a vehicle's bonnet was opened, because that activity is an unusual activity that was not expected to happen in the car park. And so we can easily check at that same time who went there, who opened it, and where did that particular object, car battery, move along the way till it got out. We would have been able to compress all of that and know where it moved to. But we cannot really stop a security man from going out with anything, really.
Thank you.
We want to add up that the question that Mr. Abdul Kabir asked reflects the need of human element in AI systems, because a lot of people, they have this phobia, or they thought that when you deploy artificial intelligence systems or data products, you don't need human involvement any longer. No. What we are trying to do here is, if you deploy AI system, you are just trying to limit the stress on the human. And hence, there is no need of thinking that the human just need to be sleeping, not to do his job. No. Why some they are even fearful that when you deploy AI system, you are taking job away from people. No. We are trying to automate the repetitive aspect of the workflow that can cause boredom or it takes too much of time, so that the expert or the humans can now focus on other areas. So it will make them to be more productive. So there is no way you are going to say you want to actually enjoy the AI system without still having the human element. Expert systems, they are tools in the hand of the expert. And who are experts? They are humans. And also, secondly, for my own personal experience, we realize that a company or an organization that fail to have an established policy for their workflow, when they try to automate that using AI system, they will fail miserably. So before you think of AI system, you should have your own established policy. What you are doing, how you are governing yourself, how you are doing things, either it is manufacturing, either it is security, either it is medical diagnosis, any area that you are trying to automate, it should be well defined according to the standard of your organization, that you think that it conforms, that you see that it conforms to the what best practices. I think this is understood. Then we want to go to the next question here from Alabi Deikola. He said that what are the pros and cons? What are the pros and cons of data science? That's the first question. And the second question, he said, then I would like to know a brief limitation of AI deployment. To our guest speaker, sir. Doctor?
All right, sir. The pros and cons of data science. Let me start with the cons. So when we say that we are able to collect data, how are we sure that we are not being deceived? Take, for example, you say face recognition. You are using camera to detect face. What if it's a mask the person is wearing? Then automatically your face recognition will fail, simply. If it were a human being, he's not just looking at you from camera. He can touch on your face and say, but a camera will just say, oh, this is the person, and allow. So it can be deceived. Also, you can give it the wrong data. Let's say, for example, we are trying to see how many people are entering, and this is sometimes a fallacy that occurs. You are counting the number of people that are entering an environment, but when somebody is carrying a baby, there was a solution we created some time ago. When you are counting, it only counts the waistline of the people. So when you are carrying a baby, you and the baby, that's just one person. So when people know the shortcomings of your method of collecting data, they can easily bypass it and it will be erroneous. And that's a problem. Then secondly, the problem of the accuracy we are trying to even get to. So you want to see if there's a relationship between something. You need so much data to achieve a high amount of confidence interval, value. But if you are not able to get enough data, at that point, the data solution, the data analysis you are using may be highly biased. So until the sample population is so great, you may now be able to rely on your data, on your model for predicting and analyzing events. So that's a con. But the pro is that at least we are beginning to automate some things that ordinary Also, with data science, we can agree that it's then possible to collect and keep data for posterity. It's enough to say, it's not enough to say, okay, we have BVN, we have PVC, we have NIN, we have, all this point of data collection. Let's begin to use that data to understand our pattern. Let me be able to say that, okay, from the data of the BVN, this particular BVN was cited using the ATM at social location. Oh, and this PVC was cited using voting at social location. Oh, then does that mean that the owner of this one gave out his card to somebody else in another place? We can begin to make sense out of that, which is what data science can do for us, which normally human beings would not have the patience to do. So it's a pro, even though there are cons on the other side. Then the second question there was that I would like to know a brief limitation of AI deployments. The limitation of AI deployment, number one, will be the issue of internet, because wherever there's going to be an AI system running, there is need to provide the communication channel through which it can update the owner or the user, through which it can actually relate with whatever server or database it is storing the information on. There is also the challenge of power supply. So you And the good thing is that with AI systems, once you install it, it's going to be there for as long as the computer is running, for as long as the system is powered, it will continue to run. So it's a worthy investment that reduces the number of people you need to work in a particular location. Yes. Thank you. I hope that answers.
Yeah,
okay, another question says, is Axxon Next vulnerable to cyber crime? That's from Adewale Oladiti. Yes. Axxon Next, just like, I have not personally used Axxon Next, but just like every other system running on a computer, the security of the solution depends on the security of the internet connection, the firewall, and of course, all of the safety systems in place to prevent unauthorized access. It is therefore a challenge of cybercrime globally. How can we secure, how can we encrypt our information from hackers? As there's a course called ethical hacking, where people try to help to see if there are loopholes in a firewall that can be solved, while others try to keep breaking through to create more reasons to improve on the system. So that's a challenge you cannot run away from. But at the same time, I would say that it's better for me as the person living in the house to know that there is a thief at the gates, even if the thief also can know. Now, the question will be, what if the thief is able to subdue the system so that it's not able to report to me when it should report? Then that's why there's always need for routine checks. So I don't go to bed leaving my system running. I should check to be sure that all of the settings are initially put for when to give an alarm and so on is still active. And that's the important thing. So we are not eliminating the security guard. Somebody somewhere still needs to be checking, is the health of this system still good? Otherwise, you would allow hackers to take over and you will never know until 3 days after the event has occurred. Then you figure out that, whoa, wow, this VMS system has been turned off for 3 days now. So we need to always be in control. In addressing the national security in Nigeria, has AI been able to overcome cybercrime? We have seen cases where CCTV cameras are being hacked by robbers to rob banks and organizations. Well, we have also seen cases where websites of very serious government infrastructure is being hacked. So there is always going to be the need to have some systems that run offline. Now, I would not expect that VMS system of this nature should be totally online. Sometimes they need to be cut off the internet so that it's shielded from any sort of hacker around. Do not connect your CCTV system. You can connect one or two to be able to monitor it remotely, but the rest of them, there should be no interconnection between them and the Wi-Fi system in the office, so that hackers from outside may not be able to get in. But most importantly, I will have to conclude with this. Unless we begin to domicile the technology of AI in this country, we will never know the loopholes that have been deliberately put for other hackers to check what the camera is seeing. But if you domicile the technology, it's built by a Nigerian, the code is by a Nigerian, then you can easily say that, okay, you own it and there is no external spy. I'm not talking of local spies now. I'm talking of possible foreign hackers that may want to be observing what is going on in your country. So as long as that is done, then there will be no loophole that hackers can come through. Thank you.
So a big thank you to Dr. Olusola Ayoola. We really appreciate this session. We thank you again. On behalf of the Institute, we say big thank you once more. I don't know, maybe there is any question. In the absence of no question, please, I will still post again. I will want the participants to follow us on our LinkedIn page, and also in case of any clarification or any request from the Institute, you can contact us on the email and also the numbers displayed earlier. So in the absence of no question, we say thank you to the presenter. Thank you to the participants also. We meet again by the last Saturday of next month for the 4th episode of Chat with Experts. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thanks so much, engineer. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.